Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. If you're hearing the sound of my voice, of course, you know it's a Wednesday night and it's 8 p.m. You're locked into Van Radio, the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse. And if you're under the sound of my voice, then you know that you are tuned into On the Mark, straight talk across the Narrows. I am Troy Liburd and I will be your host for this evening show. 2 hours of uninterrupted talk radio. What a wonderful thing that is. It's an opportunity for us to come here night after night, Wednesday after Wednesday, and to interact with the general public about things that are of interest to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, wherever in the world you are. Thank you for joining us again on another Wednesday evening. Of course, let me apologize for the show's usual host, the Honorable Mark Brantley. He, of course, is off on official government business. It's a rainy night here in Nevis, but I know in Nevis tonight that we are feeling better than what he's feeling because he's in New York, and from what I've heard, it's kind of cold, kind of chilly there. It's coming on to the summer, but it's still kind of chilly there. So I'm happy that we're here in Nevis tonight. On my way here, I got some showers of blessing, and of course I want to thank the Lord for those showers. He knows that we need the showers. The grass need to bloom, and of course the fruits and the vegetables that we have in the ground, they need that water, they need to come out. So it's just another lovely Wednesday evening here on Nevis. I'm really delighted to be here this evening. I think that we're going to have a wonderful time tonight. I have some guests with me in the studio, and a little later on I'll bring them in. Of course, they will be here with me for maybe the first half an hour, maybe give or take a bit, and then we will go into some talk. Of course, you know, this is a political show, so we're going to talk a little politics after that. But before, we have some matters of, you know, real importance, and I would want to give the folks that I have here tonight a good opportunity to come in and speak. Of course, at the top of the show, I always like to welcome in people from, you know, wherever you are. You know, we don't take it for granted, the fact that every Wednesday evening at 8 p.m., you know, there are people who will religiously tune in to On the Mark, and we don't take that for granted at all. The show is what it is because of each and every one of you. Those of you who tune in, those of you who call in, you know, to actually participate in the show, and those of you who would give, you know, advice after the show. I keep telling some of my good friends who, you know, they would listen to the show, they wouldn't call in, and then the next day they would call me and tell me, well, you should have said this, or you should have said that. I keep telling them, one of these times, you know, I'm looking out to hear you call in. Be brave, call in, and because some of you have some really good ideas, and this show is all about getting the views of different people, getting varying views. Nobody has a monopoly on, you know, what is right or what is wrong, or who has the best views. We don't have a monopoly on that. So the more views that we can get, you know, it's the better it would be for all of us here as a community. We're a small community, so we should stick together, and we need the energies and the strength and the ability of each and every person, you know, to really contribute to that forward movement that we want to get. So I want to welcome you in from wherever you are across the globe. If you're in Taiwan and it's already morning, Thursday morning over there, if you're in the UK or any other place in Europe and it's the wee hours of the night, you know, we appreciate the fact that you stay up late. For those of you in Canada and in the United States, you know, we want to welcome you. And those all over the Caribbean. I haven't heard from my good friends in Puerto Rico for a while. You know, I need to pick up my phone and call you, but I know that you're listening because you listen to On the Mark every Wednesday night. So I want to say a special good night to you. The folks, wherever you are, Guyana, Trinidad, Barbados, wherever you are in the Windward Islands, the Leeward Islands, the U.S. Virgin Islands, British Virgin Islands, want to welcome you. And of course, those of you here in St. Kitts and Nevis, this is our show. This is all about what's happening here in the Twin Island Federation. So I want to welcome all of you in. For those who are celebrating a birthday, anniversary, whatever the occasion, you know, I want to wish you a happy birthday. I might not be here on the show next week, so I think my son, he has his birthday next week, Friday, so I want to wish him an advance birthday. It's a long way out. Maybe I might call in next week, depending on who's on the show, but you know, say it in advance. Young people nowadays, birthdays are different. When I was a little child growing up, sometimes your birthday come, and if somebody don't tell you happy birthday, you don't even realize it's your birthday. But birthday nowadays, people planning all weeks before, they're already planning. What am I going to wear for my birthday? You know, that type of thing. And of course, you know, in life, where there are hills and where people are happy, there are valleys, and we have some people who are sad. And so I also want to send out condolences to some of those persons who are feeling sad right now. I want to send out condolences to the family of Mr. Orville Jeffers of Cotton Ground, you know, a stalwart of the whole Cotton Ground community, Mr. Jeffers. I want to send out condolences to his entire family. I know his sons, Mali and Justin, very well, and he has other children, his other sons and his other daughters. I want to send out condolences to all of you, to his wife, to the entire family, and to the entire Cotton Ground community who are at this time mourning. Condolences on the passing of Mr. Orville Jeffers. Also want to send out condolences to the family of Mr. Burnell Leroy Hanley, better known as Sil, formerly of Chickenstone, Nevis, but who resided in Canada. I want to send out condolences to his family. I know he has his brothers here. Grenville, who I know very well, everybody knows him as Rather. He's somebody who's always around from right there in Pan Hill, and all of the other brothers and sisters and nieces and nephews. I think I know that family very, very well, being that I grew up in the Pan Hill area, and so I want to send out my heartfelt condolences to all of you. I also want to send out condolences to the family of Mr. Sylvester Cornelius, somebody who we all knew as Tapoon of Jessop's village. He resided in Newcastle, but everybody who knows Tapoon knows he's a Jessop's man. You pass into Jessop's early in the morning and Tapoon is always there. Tapoon, of course, was a good friend of mine. Anytime I got a vehicle, Tapoon was always the person who I would take that vehicle to get it tinted. And you know, sometimes I would have to force him to take the money. I would say, man, here, you know, he would tell me it's all right, and I tell him, no man, go ahead. That's the type of person that he was. A very generous guy, a very kind person, somebody who I knew very, very well. And I want to send out condolences to his family, his daughter Shakima, who I know very well, and of course her son, which is the grandson, Kemari, who is my cousin, son of my cousin. So you know, we're a small community in Nevis, so there always going to be some sort of family ties. I think that's the reason why we should all get along and we should all live as one, you know, in spite of differences that we might have on various topics. At the end of the day, a very small society, and we all have some sort of link. If it's not family, then it's through some sort of friendship, through some sort of connection. So I'm one who believes that we should always find ways to live and work together. So again, condolences to the entire family of Tapoon, all of his sisters and brothers and, you know, nieces and nephews, all of whom I know very, very well. You know, heartfelt condolences to all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to On The Mark. I'm Troy Liburd. We're about 10-12 minutes after the 8 o'clock hour, and I am going to now introduce my guests. I have 3 guests here in the studio with me, and I'm told somewhere along the line we're going to do an exchange. And since I was just talking about family a little bit earlier, I'm going to introduce Mr. Renford Doe, who's going to introduce the other guests who are here with him, and they are representing an organization here on the island of Nevis called CBR Nevis. Am I correct with that?
Yes, sir.
CBR Nevis. So
or Nevis CBR.
Or Nevis CBR. So I want to welcome in Mr. Renford Doe, my good cousin. And for those who don't know, my mother got Liburd because, you know, she got married to my father. But before that, she was Doe. So, so let me introduce Renford Doe. Renford, good night.
Very good night to you, Minister Troy, Cousin Troy. Good night to you, and very good night to all the listeners of Van Radio. Particularly good night to its manager, who was my teacher, Mr. Webo Herbert. Always were very good friends over the years, and a man that I respect very much. And haven't seen him for a while, but you know, he's always my good friend. So very good night to everybody, and welcome to tonight's program. As Mr. Liburd said, yes, we are representing Nevis CBR. That's Nevis Community-Based Rehabilitation, an association that I'm very proud to associate myself with. It's one of my favorite subjects these days, and as we go into the program, you'll understand a little bit more about that. With me is our coordinator, Mrs. Monica Fergus, and on my immediate left is a gentleman who I'm still getting to know, but is becoming very quickly a very good friend. His name is Paul Fort, and he's out of Barbados, and he has come here to Nevis to give us some encouragement and give us some pointers as to how we can advance our cause at CBR.
Wonderful. So who's going to tell the general public a bit about CBR and what CBR has been doing or is doing here on the island of Nevis?
Well, we all will. But CBR, as I said, means community-based rehabilitation. It was introduced to Nevis by Dr. Glenville Liburd, who has been planting seeds all over the region, and he should be here with us in a little bit, so he'll be able to give a little more history about that. But basically, CBR seeks to empower elderly persons and persons with disabilities, persons who are marginalized, persons who are normally left behind, and so on. And we are making an effort to bring those persons out of the shadows into the light, offer them the opportunity to live a normal life and to treat them like normal persons. And so our flagship program is a day center, which we're very proud of, and we always want to extend our gratitude to the NIA for affording us the opportunity to use the Cotton Ground Community Center. We're there every day, Monday through Friday, from 9 until 3, where persons come together to socialize, to interact, to learn things, and to find themselves, as it were. That is a growing program. You know, we're still in our teething process, you know, but we're very proud of the program, and we've seen growth, and we've seen the interest growing. We have some very serious needs and setbacks, as like any other organization, but we are holding on and trusting that we'll see the fruits as we go ahead. So thank you very much, Troy, for forgive me. Thank you very much, Minister Liburd, for having us here.
You know, we're on the mark, and I want you to know that that's how we speak here on the mark. So Troy is good. And,
well,
and for you, Troy is always good.
I know Troy is always good, but I don't want to drop the standard of your program on your listeners. So, Monica, could you say hello to the audience?
Hello, good night, everybody, near and far. My name is Monica Fergus, as you know, and I am the co-coordinator of CBR. I do a lot of the events like the breakfast. We've got one coming up next Friday, and I'd like each and every one to support us, because our main aim is to get a bus to transport people with disability to the Cotton Ground Community Centre. So first of all, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the breakfast that we have coming up next week, Friday, which is Friday the 13th of June, sorry, my mistake. And that will commence from 7:30 in the morning till 11:30, or shall we push it to 12 midday. And that will be held at the Cotton Ground Community Centre, and the cost is only $20. Now, this is actually a pre-Mother's Day. I know Mother's Day is gone, but we decided, because there was a lot of events on, we decided to have it as a Mother's Day pre-Father's Day breakfast. The reason being, I believe the fathers always get left out. So we're doing it as a conjoin. So the breakfast will include saltfish, listen good, saltfish or liver, scrambled egg or boiled eggs, sauteed potato, johnny cakes, pancakes, salted sausage, a tossed salad, assorted fruit and local drinks, and that's just $20. We're trying to raise funds, and please come and join us at the Cotton Ground Community Centre next week. That's it for me.
Thank you, Monica. We also have with us visiting from Barbados, Paul. Paul, please tell the audience about yourself.
Hi, good night. Sorry. First, let me thank you for having me here, Rainford and CBR. Pretty much in Nevis to assist the CBR grouping with programs and ideas of how we can help develop the organization, and to also help, as was said earlier, raise funds not only for the vehicle but for our own personal building. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Liburd.
Good night. Yes, okay, so I already have one question already that, based on listening to what you have said so far. How long has the group been functional? And, some of what you are giving tonight is new information to me. I wasn't even aware that we had, what did we call it, a day center happening at the Cotton Ground Community Center. And I think it's a wonderful thing. I know, being in places like New York and so on, they have these day centers where folks who are elderly can go and have, fun instead of just being at home, shut in at home. It's a place for them to go and play card games and interact with other persons. I think the Department of Community Development also does something similar with the elderly program, but it's good to see a community group coming together to do something for the elderly. So how long has, the group been active, and how long has this day center been operating?
Well, the day center in and of itself was launched last December. We had our launch at the Malcolm Gishard Park. It was a wonderful event. The group started, I think last year. We had a kind of a camp to test the waters to see whether this concept would work at the same venue at the Cotton Ground Community Center, which was very successful. It lasted for 2 weeks. We invited persons to bring their relatives and so on, and it was very successful. That was also funded by the NIA, and so we are very grateful for their support. Gender affairs and community affairs have been very supportive over the period that we've been existing, and we are very grateful. I was chosen, I don't know if I should say fortunately or unfortunately, but I'm very proud to have been chosen to be the chairman of the organization here on Nevis. And Dr. Glenville Liburd is the founder and consultant. He does most of the logistics in terms of communicating with persons like yourself, Mr. Liburd. I will scold him for not giving you as much information as you should have had. Well, I don't know if it's him I should scold or some of your colleagues, because I'm aware that there has been several interactions with your administration. and
Of
persons
course,
in
but
your-
those interactions would generally be handled by the Department of Social Services, Community Affairs, and so on, and that would be Minister Janelle Nisbet. That would be
yes, that name is familiar.
yeah, that would be more her domain. My domain would more be education and sports and working with the youth. So this would be something for the elderly. And the thing is that sometimes you can get compartmentalized, and sometimes you can have what I would refer to as tunnel vision, where you're so focused on what you're doing that sometimes you just don't have the time to see some of the other things that are happening. So I would think that this
Let me just
is
remind you
probably
that you're a
such a
doer.
case. Yes, yes.
And so that you can multitask.
I'm multitasking with the young people right now. The young people, they are a lot and they're hard to keep up with. So definitely. But I think this is a very good initiative. Too often as a community we sit back and we say, well, government should do this or government should do that. So it's good to see a group coming together and saying, hey, let's do something for the elderly. Let's create this day center so that the elderly could have some place to go. Those who don't have somebody to be at home during the daytime to maybe take care of them, or even for those who don't really need care, but they're elderly and they're going to be home by themselves. It's an opportunity to come out and socialize, and as human beings we're social creatures.
Yes.
So being able to be around other people and so on, that keeps us young and that keeps us healthy. So just by that interaction alone, I think we're doing quite a lot for the seniors, to keep them around for a long time. And seniors are persons who would have made their contribution already to society, and particularly in the case of Nevis, we are just a few generations removed from where we did not have any electricity, we didn't have running water in the homes and so on. Even from my generation, I got a little bit of carrying the bucket on the head.
A little bit?
A little bit of it. I couldn't really balance the bucket on the head and have two in the hands. I have the jug, but I used to see women who would have something wrapped up around their head and they have a bucket on top of the head.
They call
and
it
then
a
they have two kits holding in the hand. So we are just a few generations removed from that, and so some of these elderly people, this is the type of life that they had every day. So for the young people out here now who have everything so easy, you wake up in the morning and you go and you turn on the tap and there's water, and there's not just water. Sometimes the water comes out, it's warm, ice cold, depending on how you want it to be. There's breakfast on the table, you go and you turn on the gas and the stove is lit.
And the microwave.
They weren't stoves. People were still using the coal pot. You cook outside on three stones or whatever the case is. That was the reality that most of these elderly people would have had to deal with, and I think as young people that we really should appreciate the kind of back-breaking hard work that they had to do, right, to get us to where we are living this kind of easy kind of life. Now, we shouldn't really take it for granted at all. Every time I have an opportunity to talk about this is something I like to say to the young people, because I think quite a lot of the younger people, they never lived it, so they don't understand it. Even my children, I sit down and I talk to them and I tell them not to take things for granted, because these young people now, you have bottled water, and they're even picky about the type of bottled water. Yes, we might laugh at this thing, but they're even picky about the type of bottled water that they want to drink. And they would tell me that this one tastes good and that one don't taste good. And I came up where we were very happy to drink the water from the pipe. We were very happy, because when pipe water came close, that was like a luxury, because before you had to go far
to fetch it,
to get pipe water. So when it came close and you could go to the pipe and drink water, that was a wonderful thing. So for these young people they've never had pipe water, some of them have never drank water from the tap, So they don't know how that is. So they're telling you, well, I don't want this type of water, I don't want that type of water, because you go to this store and you buy water and they come and they pick and choose. And sometimes I think about it and I marvel to myself, because I'm saying, here is a young person who's saying, well, I don't want this type of bottled water. I'm picky about bottled water. They all taste the same way to me, okay? But here's a young person who's picky. They're not going to drink this particular type, or they're not going to drink that type. And so...
Well, Troy, we would like to, I'm sorry for cutting across you there, but we would like to invite the young people to come and visit at the center, because these are some of the conversations that we are proud to have with our elderly. You could imagine the feeling that I have sitting with two old ladies and them telling me all about the 50s and 40s and all those kind of things and how they used to live and things like that. You know, it is really, really a very warming feeling, being able to interact with them, sit at their feet, as it were, and learn, and have them acknowledge the fact that you have taken the time to listen to them. I think that we have come to the point in our lives where we are too rushed. Everything is going too fast. We don't take the time to sit down and reminisce, and don't take the time to learn and glean the wisdom that our elderly have to share with us. And so this effort is a community effort. We embrace the community. We are asking the community to come aboard with us. And yes, we, as Monica indicated, we have to raise funds because it's a community effort, right? We don't have what you call a sponsor somewhere to give us whatever we want whenever we want it. So we are endeavoring as a community to embrace whatever resources we can garner together. And we're asking persons who have the elderly or disabled persons at home to bring them to the center and know that they'll be in a safe space. One of the fears that we have is when people have to be home alone for whatever reason, because their relatives have to go and work, of course, and sometimes they find themselves in challenging situations where unavoidably, you know, they find themselves in harm's way and things like that. So being at the center where there are volunteers, and we are very happy for the volunteers, and we're asking for other persons to come on board with us. We are not in a position to pay you right now, but the joy of knowing that you have helped somebody, keep somebody safe, help somebody to the bathroom, or just to sit with somebody and talk because they don't want to be, no one likes to be alone. And so, you know, all these opportunities, we have persons that come and impart information with us. We have little workshops. I'm not sure if I'm at liberty to call any names tonight, so I'm going to stay away from that. But we have persons who come along and teach, you know, little things, you know, things you can do, health and wellness, things that you can make from simple things that are around you every day, craft, and so on, different ways that you can cook different things and so on. So we have very, very varied activities at the center. And we can see the delight and the gratitude on the faces of those persons who come. And so we are asking the community to embrace this concept and to come alongside us and see whether or not our theme is together everyone achieves more. And this is why we want to embrace this concept, and as we come together as a community, we can make a difference in all of our lives because everyone has something to share, right? And so, as Monica mentioned, we are seeking right now to raise funds to purchase a mobility vehicle, because there are several persons out there who would like to get to the center, but with crutches and wheelchairs and stuff like that, you know, it's very difficult to travel on the normal buses or normal vehicles and so on. So we want a bus that can carry the wheelchair users and the persons using crutches and so on, to take them to the center and back home. Dr. Liburd has been doing a wonderful job by, you know, using his vehicle and his resources to accommodate the center, and we applaud him for his sacrifice and for his commitment. But, you know, it's very challenging, and so we're asking persons to come alongside us and assist us in that area. I'm sure somebody somewhere, we have identified a bus somewhere, Troy, that is costing $12,000 US. I'm sure somebody somewhere can write a check. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the, 12,000 US doesn't sound prohibitive.
All right.
Yeah.
But
Sounds good.
we're just encouraging. We're not demanding. We're just encouraging persons to make a donation of whatever kind and help us, because we believe that they normally say the life you save may be your very own, and so by giving towards this gesture you may be assisting your own relatives, and so we ask you to come by, and we also ask persons to call. You can call anybody at CBR. You can call Dr. Liburd at 662-5187. You can call myself, Renford, at 6630229. You can call Monica or anyone at CBR and start the conversation with us and get to understand the concept and see how you can be a part of it. But we welcome everyone on board, because we believe that this effort, this initiative will benefit the whole community.
Good. Oh, well, in support of what Ren first said, I think we're looking at taking a bit further. We talked a lot about the elderly, which is important, but we have to look also at the disabled community, and there are a lot of persons out there who are left to their own, and especially in times of disaster. We know we've just entered the hurricane season, and we need to pay a bit more attention to that, to those individuals. The concept of CBR within the community is really and truly to help persons with disability and the elderly to understand that there's an avenue of which they can come, not only as a daycare, but they can also contribute. Not only contribute to themselves, but to other persons. And we also see it as a ground where young people can come and learn from the elderly. And there's some person in disability community that can teach certain things that we are not aware of. And the only way we can find out what they can do is if the opportunity is provided. The problem we have currently is getting persons through and from the center, as Ren first said. Having a vehicle is critical to ensure we can get persons to come out and see what's going on. But more importantly, having awareness of the situations is more important at this time. We need to understand that the disabled community cannot be left on its own to benefit itself without the support of the general public. And that brings us to what we have now. I guess the papers before you, our strategic development goals. We have 4 strategic development goals, one of which number one, we're hoping to realize by May 1st next year. And that is developing and strengthening disabilities awareness and elderly awareness and participation. And that goal is aimed at, one, helping the general public within the Nevis community to understand what, one, disabilities is, 2, what elderly care is, 3, how do we help these people not only to bring their plights to the general public, but to help them to be better taken care of, to be better catered to. And this goes beyond just the supermarkets. It goes into the workplace, it goes into the schools, it goes into the playing field, or onto the playing field, where we can see elderly persons or the general disabled community being left out, not being allowed to participate because we think they can't. We have to provide the opportunities. And that is what CBR is seeking to do. And these 4 goals created here are aimed at helping persons outside of that community to understand where they can contribute, where they can assist, and where they can mostly and more importantly help them to be participatory in most programs.
Okay, so I have another question, and this is the question. So your organization, is it a standalone organization, or is it that it's a part of a bigger group, or you have sister organizations in other territories?
Well, CBI is worldwide, actually, all around the region. It's an initiative that's been approved by the, what do you call that, the
World Health Organization,
FAO, and the United Nations. We've had different countries. I think Dr. Liburd has traveled extensively from territory to territory, promoting and gleaning information as to how CBR can benefit the different communities and the persons that it represents. So we look at organizations like the Blind, Light and Visually Impaired Society as, a sister organization. Over in St. Kitts, there's the Association of Disabled Persons. They're all entwined in the same concept. So we work along with all these different groups all across the region.
Yeah, well, it's an international organization, and we have the NIVIS sector or the NIVIS set here. The aim is not to see ourselves as an isolated body, but to see ourselves as a participating body, meaning that we will work with whoever organization, whether it be corporate NIVIS, whether it be the government itself, or whether it be another private organization that can actually assist us in getting awareness out there for the people with disabilities and for elderly care. So to say we're standalone or we're part of is pretty much, to answer the question really, is to help you to understand that we're willing to work with who's willing to work with us, and who's willing to contribute. We're not asking for cash, we're asking for in-kind. I mean, if you want to donate cash, yes, but we're asking for in-kind because we need persons to understand that these two brackets of people has to be given the opportunity to participate. They have to be given the opportunity to take part in initiatives, help with decision-making processes, and help make sensible decisions that will not only help them, but help future persons who are going to come along in this bracket.
Definitely.
Well, Troy, one of the objectives is for older persons and persons with disabilities to help everyone to know how to take care of them. Sometimes we tend to feel that we know what a person wants and how they want it, but there's a saying that is used, nothing about us without us, right? So we want to be a part of decision making as it relates to us, those of us who are disabled and those persons who are older. We want to be able to say, well, this is how you can help us. We don't want, for our lifestyles to be dictated. We want to be able to have a say. We're very thankful to the Disaster Management Division who have come alongside us, and they have allowed us to be a part of their planning in terms of escape routes and safe zones and so on. What this is saying to the disabled community, that they're not left out, and this is exactly what we want to hear, that we are included in all decision making, and not only that somebody just sit down and make plans for us, we want to be a part of the planning so we could understand up front what is being put forth to benefit.
Okay. So I think we've heard quite a lot. I'm very impressed by what we're hearing here tonight, and I think this is something that the general public can really latch on to as a community. This is not something that you're doing for profit. I would assume that it's a non-profit organization, and so it's all about assisting the elderly and folks with disabilities, and I'm all for that, because the truth is that with the way that the world is going, just about anybody could become someone with disability. It could be just around the corner, and we don't know what's ahead. So I think as a community we would want to embrace people with whatever the disabilities are, and give them the opportunities to participate as much as possible in society. And as I said earlier, which I believe to be really true, is that there's probably a lot that we can learn from such a person. I want to welcome in Dr. Liburd. I see that you are now in the studio of Van Radio and on the mark, and here with me tonight. And I think when I introduced Renford, I gave the whole family story, right, Renford?
So made an effort.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try to give a little Dr. Liburd story before I bring in Dr. Liburd, and I sure Dr. Liburd
His family too?
I sure Dr. Liburd didn't even remember.
Of
but
course I remember.
but when I was a young child, I used to be troubled by asthma, and some of the times, you know, the asthma could come on unexpectedly, and you know, a few times when the asthma troubled me, living on top of the hill up in Coal Hill, my mother would take me down the road by Dr. Liburd. Do you remember that, Dr. Liburd? Okay. So with that now said, I want to welcome you in tonight. Dr. Liburd is somebody who has been looking after people in Nevis for a really long time. I don't think you need any big introduction. I think you're known to the Nevisian public. Good night and welcome.
Yeah, good evening, Troy. Good evening, Renford and Paul, and good evening to the listening audience on Van Radio 890, 860, and also on the FM, and I think it's streaming on Facebook, right?
Yes, we are on Facebook and YouTube.
YouTube, yeah. So it's good to be here again in this familiar seat. And tonight we are promoting community-based rehabilitation. And as I was listening to the discussion driving in, you know, Renford and Monica and Paul did a wonderful job to introduce the subject, and so happy to be part of this initiative. It's not my idea per se, but as a medical doctor here in Nevis, I've been working for Social Security, you know, to evaluate persons who applying for benefit that Social Security provides. And out of that experience, I realized that some of these persons before 62, you know, 60 is retirement age under Social Security. But if you get an illness where you can't work because of a disability and so on, then you apply for disability pension after 26 weeks of continuous sick leave. But some of these people can return to work because the impairment may be minor to a certain extent, or there's no structural rehabilitation program to get them back functional again. And so that drives my interest to see what can I do as a doctor to provide for these patients, to challenge the system to accommodate them. And around 2010, I was subscribing to an email discussion group, and someone posted an article about the WHO CBR guidelines, which were updated in 2010. And when I reviewed those revised CBR guidelines, I said, hey, this is something that we could easily use here in Nevis. So I reached out to the gentleman who posted the article. He's a chap from Holland, and we became very good friends now. His name is Hoop Carnegie. And I engaged him in a conversation by email. And he told me he could send students to Nevis to help me research what is happening on the ground. He had me to send some preliminary data about the rehab services, which I did. And so we conceived an internship project where his students from Holland will come to Nevis, spend a 3-month elective program doing research, and those reports were fed back to the island administration. Of course, it was part of their coursework, right? But I said this research shouldn't stay in Holland. Every student should come, should leave a report here with us, right? And so the first student that came did a need assessment on disabled persons on Nevis. And I said, this was too good to be locked away in Holland. So I brought her back. I waited for her to come back to Nevis, and the gentleman came as well, and we had a 1-day workshop at the Anglican Church Hall in. She came in 2011. The guy was in 2010, October. I learned about them in November. So between November 2010 and 2011, we organized this internship program with the island administration, who graciously accepted my initiative. And she finished her master's thesis in 2011, graduated, and said, no, this report couldn't be locked away in the library in Holland. So she came back in 2013, eventually, yes, and presented her research findings, and he spoke about CBR and rehabilitation services, and we had a very enthralling 1-day workshop at the Anglican Church Hall from 8:30 to 4:30, right? Because people came from St. Kitts, and nobody wanted to move from the desk to go for breaks, right? Everybody was served at the table because the discussion was so engaging. And people wanted to learn more about this CBR thing. What is CBR all about, right? So he advised that we should go to Colombia later that year. There was a conference there. The Americas had what they call a CBR Network of the Americas. They were having the 3rd Congress in Medellin, Colombia, in October of 2013. So we went there to learn about CBI. Many young lady she was from Aruba. She came to Nevis to do her internship. She was back in Aruba by then, and she worked with the government as a policy advisor. So we went to Colombia to learn about CBI, and they tell us, go back home to CARICOM and activate the Caribbean node of the Americas CBI network. So that gave us a mandate to go on the Caribbean to promote CBI. And after a while I said, here am I going to the Caribbean promoting this concept, and Nevis doesn't have any CBI program, any CBI grouping, right? So one of the attendees who went to that workshop kept asking me, Dr. Liburd, what are you doing about CBI? What are you doing about CBI? Every time I saw her, you know. And so I tell her, well, from a WhatsApp group, right? And then as my people who are interested, for my patients, I will add them to the group and start a conversation. That was in 2019. You know, and so 2019, June, thereabout, we started, between May and June, we started this WhatsApp group. And then we started having face-to-face meeting around August that year. And we kept going. We met from one place to another. First meeting was done by Sunshine. We went to Youth and Sport because Curtis was part of the conversation as well. And then we were having difficulty finding space. I said, I have space in my office. Let us meet there. And so we met there for a couple of years until the group gets so big. And then we, you know, we had this 2-week summer camp in 2023, which we spoke about earlier. Because, you know, we wanted to test the need for the day center program, which was part of the need identified from the conversation that we were having as a group, met time after time. And so after that 2-week summer camp in 2023, we said we have to make this an institutionalized program. And so the government gave us permission to use Cotton Grove Community Center. And we said we'll do it for the whole week, 9 to 3, Monday to Friday. And so we've been forging ahead since end of June last year. And then, well, met this good man here on my right, and his friend, you know, who is volunteering with our group. And, you know, we have this document here before us called our strategic development goals, you know, and development plan, which he has helped us to craft to get the group more structured and consolidated and get our programs better organized and structured. So a lot of work to be done, but you know, we are taking it step by step, and we are reaching out to the wider community to appreciate that there's a need out there that has to be addressed, and we're thankful for the NIA that has helped us so far in little ways in facilitation with the community center. They sponsored the summer camp in 2023 generously, and so we thank them for that as well. And so we continue the conversation, and it's not easy, but we will forge ahead, and we are thankful that we have this forum tonight to continue the conversation and a wider public. You know.
I think this is what you would call a worthy cause. You know, you look for something that you can get behind as a worthy cause. This is certainly, you know, a worthy cause. One, because you know it's non-profit. Two, it's helping the elderly and those with disabilities, particularly in the case of the elderly. As I said, the elderly have contributed, and I don't believe that, you know, we could do too much
without them
for the elderly. Sometimes
they continue to contribute.
Sometimes as people age, you know, you tend to put them aside. I don't believe in that at all. I believe that, you know, people have worked and their situation was much worse than what the situation is now, and they had to work hard to get us to this kind of luxury that we living in now. And so I really appreciate the hard work that.
But man, not to cut you off, Troy, but I believe that man was made to work. But it's sort of how we shall eat bread.
Yes.
But there's work and there's work, right? And work should be fun, right? And so no matter what stage of life you are, people need to feel useful in society, right? And once you feel that you're contributing to your family, your wider community, your nation, you know, then people feel fulfilled, right? No matter how old you are. And so the CBI program will take care of those situations. People don't have to be stressed to be part of it, right? You want to volunteer a day, an hour or two, because you have a skill, you want to share with the younger generation, or you want to learn something, you can come to the program, right? Yes, the main beneficiaries are those who have disabilities, and of course the elderly, because aging has been identified as a disabling condition, and so we want to prevent them from being disabled by the age that they can still come out to the center. Don't pack up at home and say, well, life has no meaning anymore because you're retired and nobody want to employ you anymore. But you could come out and still feel useful, share your expertise, your insight, your knowledge, and still learn something new at your senior golden years, And so the CBI program will cater to all those interests and needs of the wider community and the elderly and the disabled.
Wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to On The Mark, and we are here with the Nevis CBR. That's the Nevis Community-Based Rehabilitation Advocates. And I think it's a wonderful initiative. Earlier we had Miss Monica Fergus, and she has stepped out so that Dr. Liburd could come in. And of course we have Mr. Paul Foote. And Mr. Foote, they didn't tell me where you're from, but I could guess from your accent that you're Bajan.
Yes.
Right? Am I correct? And then my good cousin Renford is also here. And this is one of the things that I can really get behind. I think the government is continuous, and in Nevis, government has always sought to work with the elderly. There are different organizations out there, and we have really, I know for me, being in government, I've always supported most of these organizations, and anytime I'm asked to support, I try to come forward and support, because I know that disability is around the corner for just about anybody. And all of us have somebody in our family, all of us have a friend who has some sort of disability, and all of us have either a grandparent or a great aunt or a great aunt. We know somebody, so this is something that affects everybody.
Yeah, we also want to because when we say disabilities, persons see the physical disability, and there are those hidden disabilities. Learning disabilities and stuff like that, and then there are persons who we may criticize and say they're slow, and it's not necessarily slow, but there's a situation going on, and so we like the support from government, we encourage the support from government, but what we want more so is the endorsement from government to help us put the CBR program within the communities as a household name, meaning that persons can understand there's a phone call away. Persons can understand on a daily basis when you find yourself in a certain situation, you can get to the Culturama Community Center or contact Dr. Liburd, who can seek to get transportation, get you transported. When there's help needed, we want them to understand we're there. Who do you call? CBR. Because the thing is that a lot of persons who find themselves in situations where they're helpless, we tend to negate the situation because we're not aware of it, and we're not aware of it because they're not sure where they can go to for help. They're not sure who they can turn to. CBR is now making that available through its programs, through its initiative, through its strategic development goals, expected to be realized in 2026, and going from here to that point, we're looking at rolling out a series of programs which will not only encourage the elderly and the disabled to come out, but the general public to come and understand what disabilities is, what elderly care is, what gerontology is, to help them to understand the basic tenets of taking care of these communities and contributing to these communities, helping these communities, as Dr. Liburd said, to feel useful once again. Because, as you've been saying for the entire night, we cannot neglect the elderly. The elderly has paid the way for us, and it's about time we recognize that and give them the royalty treatment they deserve.
Definitely. We are just about 5 minutes before the 9 o'clock hour. I know when we started the show, we said we were going for a half an hour, but of course, I think it's an important enough
You can give us a full show,
topic. I have a lot more here on the agenda. We could probably go until about a quarter after the 9 o'clock hour. I don't know if you mind taking a few calls or anything like that.
Definitely, not at all.
So what we'll do is we'll keep the group here until a quarter after the 9 o'clock hour, but we'll open up the phone so that if there's anybody out there who wants to call in, who has a question or anything that they would want to ask, that you can call in. Of course, the numbers to call are 869-469-1616 and or 1700. So we'll open the lines now and we'll take a few calls, but let me go back to you, Dr. Liburd. We have another 15 minutes, 17 minutes to go. I think the topic is is an important enough one that, you know, we can really extend the time. You know, sometimes you leave the politics talk. So I'll only have enough time left to talk about the things that I want to talk about, education and so on, that I have here to talk about
well,
after.
coming into you were talking about people staying in their little compartment, right? Now, CBR, the WHO CBR guidelines, right? When CBR started in 1978, there was this global mandate, health for all, by the year 2000, right? And so CBR began to be formally pushed as a primary healthcare initiative, right? Focus on health. But over the years since then, they realized that people need more than healthcare. They need education, they need social support, they need livelihood support, right? They need empowerment, right? So CBI is now not just a health initiative, but it is a multi-sectorial initiative, right? Involves education, social services, livelihood sector, empowerment sector, right? And so these 5 pillars of the CBR program are well recognized and been well researched, and they have what they call the CBR matrix that encapsulate this concept of the 5 pillars, and they have the different levels. They have health promotion, health prevention, medical care, rehabilitative care, and assistive technology. Same thing for education, from primary, secondary, tertiary, and lifelong education, right? And so on. And so these different layers, the different pillars are recognized. And so you could be in education and still do CBR, right? You could be a social worker and still do CBR, right? You could be a health practitioner and still do CBR. You could be a legal practitioner and still do CBR, right? Because once you understand the interconnection between the different sectors, and it teaches the concept of networking, right? Knowing who are your associates, who could help you get your initiative up and running in the different sectors of government agencies. So we no longer think about being in a cubbyhole or being a silo, but we look like a spider in a web, knowing how to navigate the minefield of services that exist out there. And that CBI will teach those skills of how to build relationships and how to collaborate and get things done for the good of the client before you.
Okay, I was looking back for something. So you want to come in?
Well, my role here is just to assist and to really speak to the strategic development goals, and it is critical because, as Dr. Liburd was saying just now, there's a plethora of things that the elderly can do and the disabled can do. One such program we're looking at right now is a vocational program where we start to teach persons cake and pastry or dressmaking, flower arrangements, things like these. And this goes to general public, where now this is let me say a retired chef who's home doing nothing can come out and teach these programs, and this gives that person purpose. It helps them to feel a bit more contributory towards the society and the growth of young people and the development of young people, because this also gives aid to the poverty situation in any country, because what CBR is seeking to do is to create an environment where persons who don't have the means to pay a college or a university to go somewhere can come and learn free of cost or at a minimal cost from the elderly persons who have a lot to contribute. Those persons who are retired professors, those are also elderly. They can come and contribute also. And on behalf of CBR, to help younger persons understand certain things. Guidance. The young lawyer who do not understand certain cases, tort law and stuff like that, can also come and learn from an elderly lawyer who have retired. And so these are things that we're looking at putting in place in the vocational programs that can actually assist not only the elderly, not only the disabled community, but the general public on the whole.
Yes.
Yeah?
I'm supporting you. Thank you.
Yeah. So the general public on the whole, and the aim here for goal number 1, like I said, developing and strengthening disabilities awareness and elderly care and participation, is to help these persons in these 2 brackets feel more useful. Help them to continue to contribute in a meaningful way, where they're not felt as though the victims or their cases of care studies and stuff like that, but they're participating in the development of society, in the decision-making process. You said it earlier, and it is very true. These are 2 areas that we cannot speak against. 1, as you age, you will get older. At some point in time, you will become an elderly person. 2, once you're living, the possibility of becoming disabled is very real.
So can I ask, as a matter of practicality, specifically for what the group has been doing here? Oh, we have a caller. Let's go to the line. Let's take the caller. Caller, you're on the mark. Good night.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening,
Honorable
caller.
Liburd. How you doing?
Well, thank you.
Wonderful.
Hi, this is Florine, of course.
Hi, Florrie.
Hi, Florine.
Hi.
Good night.
I would like to say good night to all the panelists. It's a very informative program. And I'm being part of this CBR, and I love it, to be honest. I really do love it. And I would like to encourage everyone who has these challenges to come and visit the center, which we usually start from 9 until 3, Monday to Thursday, and on Fridays we have until 2 o'clock. So I'm encourage everyone to come and visit the center. There's so many things we could learn from. We do cooking, we do baking, we do craft making, we do everything. Okay, so thanking everyone to come on board. And thank you very much, Honorable Choi, and I'll talk to you, okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a
a
good
wonderful
evening.
night.
Hi,
Thanks
Dr.
for calling
Liburd,
in, Florine.
Raymond.
Thank you for calling,
a
Florine.
wonderful show.
Thank you very much for
Okay,
your
then,
support.
thanks.
That's great.
Bye.
I look forward to hearing you calling me more times when I'm here.
Wait.
I look forward to hearing you calling me more times when I'm here.
Yeah, man, can you not even call for the Venus Society so
Yes.
my voice is in a stranger?
Yes.
And I know you always support, so I'm looking for your support for this upcoming.
Yes, as
breakfast,
usual.
okay?
As usual.
I could really depend on you.
Yes.
All the best. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling.
Yes, so I was asking a specific question about here. How has the turnout been in terms of the number of persons who are part of the grouping now?
Well, it varies because we have identified, as we spoke of earlier, you know, the need for transportation. In some cases, like I told you, you know, it's difficult for people to maneuver the buses and their regular vehicles and so on. In other cases, persons are just not able to afford to pay to come to the center every day, right? And so we want to negate all those difficulties by getting our own transport so we can pick people up and so on. But the number varies. Sometimes we have a lot of people, and it all depends on the individuals, you know. Sometimes family members will drop them off depending on what their work schedules are and so on. And like I said earlier, Dr. Liburd has been making a relentless effort and noteworthy sacrifice to ensure that persons who want to get to the center get there by some means, and we want to congratulate him and commend the sacrifices and efforts that he makes. But we'd also like to appeal to persons who have transportation, whether you have a bus or a car and you'd like to assist, just to get in touch with us, start a conversation. We can tell you persons who maybe in your area, you know, if I can use you for an example, Troy, if you know of a person in your immediate community, you know, you come into town every day, and I'm sure you wouldn't mind taking the extra minute and a half and dropping them over to the community center at Cotton Ground. And so if persons can just reach out and say, okay, well, I'm here and I would like to go to the center, and this is what we are saying. We don't want persons to just sit down and say, well, I hear about the program. As Dr. Liburd would say, you know, you need to put your hands up and say, well, I want to be a part of this, you know. If you're on the street and you want to go to town, you put your hands up so the bus driver could see you, right?
Definitely.
So we need persons to reach out and say, well, I want to be a part of this, so that they can be picked up, they can be recognized, and we can put something in place. Or if they have family members who would like to drop them off, we will make sure that they get back home.
I think
right?
one of the good things about being on the mark is that we have a broad listenership. So,
and we want to thank you for the opportunity to reach out.
Some folks who probably didn't know that, you know, there was this grouping and this was happening, a lot more people will know now. And, you know, even if it's not reaching to the particular person, a family member, a friend might be listening who would say, you know, I know somebody who should be a part of this, and have that conversation with them. So
yeah, so we want to thank you for the opportunity, try to reach out to, you know, your listening public, and wherever you are, here in Nevis or wherever. And well, as you said earlier, everybody have family everywhere. So you might be in New York, but you have a family member here on Nevis who needs to be at the center, right? And so hearing the information tonight will propel you to making that happen. Or you may be in a position to help us get a vehicle. Whatever the situation is, we are urging you to become a part of the conversation. As I said earlier, you can call Dr. Liburd, or you can call myself, or now you can call Honorable Troy and ask him about the program.
Yes,
right?
definitely.
Well, try to answer your question about numbers, right? I mean, numbers can be misleading, right? I mean, I have been practicing here now for the last 30 years almost, right? Since I came back home in '96, and I could go to my office database and identify persons who can benefit from this program. But people are locked away; they're hidden at home because there's nothing structured provided for them to come out the house, right? And those people, even though they will want to come out, they won't come out easily unless you make it convenient and easy for them, because the trouble of getting out and to come out every day, what we're trying to accomplish, yes, they may come once in a while, but we want them to come out on a daily basis, right? Because that's how they will get sustained improvement in their condition and be properly rehabilitated. And so that's where we need the customized transport dedicated to this program. Yes, I mean, we're trying to carpool and share resources like that, but you know, that cannot be sustained without proper planning and coordination. And you know, it's a chicken and egg situation, and so we need to have that conversation and look at how we could make all these moving parts come together as a unified whole. And then once we get structured program together, like this plan is going to help us to do, then we will see people coming out daily, regularly, because their lives are being transformed through the program that we have envisioned.
You will also see improvement in these individuals too, and that's what we want. We want more see also. The transportation is critical right now, and if we, as Dr. Liburd said, we can get a dedicated, you know, customized vehicle that can move persons, then you will see a consistent number of persons, and we can say to you, we have X amount of members from this community, from that community, but persons, as Dr. Liburd said, are shut away, and then the burden of having to find transportation to get from point A to the community center, it can be cumbersome sometimes, and that creates a problem we don't want the elderly or the disabled to have, in addition to what they're already going through.
And then once they come out, we need to have volunteers, people with skill, expertise, who could facilitate meaningful activities for them to feel welcome, that yes, people who know how to deal with these persons, right? And so some capacity building will have to take place, right? And we have to have training for facilitators, for volunteers, to know how to work with the disabled community.
Yeah, before we wrap up, I know you want to wrap up. Based on what Dr. Liburd said,
just about 5 minutes.
Yeah, we need to let you all know also that we will run a series of training programs for the public and how they can deal with persons with disability and the elderly care, how to interact with them, how to coach them, and how to have manage, not manage in terms of control, but in terms of when they need assistance, how to do it. So CBR will be rolling out a series of programs to the general public where they can help to understand, to understand the elderly and the disabled community.
And to build capacity in the community to
So I
work
have
with the disabled.
another question too. Now, all of this sounds really nice to me. I know that the Department of Community Affairs, that they have a pretty robust seniors program. So how would CBR, dovetail into what the Department of Community Affairs?
Well, they complement and supplement. I mean,
in terms of
some of our beneficiaries, they go to board program, right? Because the seniors program doesn't run every day, but we want ours to be run Monday to Friday 9 to 3. Right? And so one lady, she comes to us when nothing is happening at the seniors, and depending on what the interest is, she will pick and choose. So she have more options of getting out, right?
And we plan to be a continuous basis on a daily basis, which gives a bit more leverage to these individuals. So it's not
so one can complement,
of course.
Yeah. Like we said earlier, we are willing to work with whoever is willing to work with us, and we're looking for support and the opportunities for these older persons to participate and to recontribute to society in a meaningful way.
Definitely. So I'll give you gentlemen an opportunity to wrap up. I guess if each one of you wants to.
Well, Troy, my last words would be thank you for the opportunity to be here on your program to promote CBR. And to echo what I said earlier, we now have another ally. Is that in that we have Minister Troy Liburd, who is now a member of the CBR group.
I like that.
I think we have converted him tonight. So
I like that. Yeah.
in addition to calling Dr. Liburd or myself for information, you can now call Minister Troy, who will, if you don't have all the information, will refer you. But definitely will recommend the CBR program and let you know what needs can be
Hold
addressed.
just 1 second. We have a caller. Let's try to take the call. Caller, you're on the mark. Good night.
Good night.
Good evening, caller.
Good program.
Thank you very much.
And we have to learn to support our own. Support our own.
You're so right, caller.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you
Thank
for
you,
calling.
caller. Recognize that voice
Yes.
very well.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Go
Thank
ahead,
you very
Alfred.
much. Yes, so I was saying thank you for the opportunity to be here, and we hope that persons will understand the availability of CBR and understand that they can be a part of it. Our theme and our mantra is together everyone achieves more. And so the more we come together is the more that we can achieve. And I'm grateful to Paul for amplifying the fact that this program is about not just convenience for persons to be away from home, but to give the community an opportunity to learn how to appreciate their own. As the caller was saying, yes, I believe that, and I've said this over and over, I believe people are well-meaning. Dr. Liburd spoke about the disabled being shut away and people being locked away and so on. And Troy, you would agree with me that everyone feels more comfortable looking after their own people, right? So you feel that by keeping them home in a room locked away, whether in a back room or front room or wherever, that they are safe because you can look after them. But what happens when you are not able to be there, right? Those are the things that you need to take into consideration. Also, you have to take into consideration, yes, this is what I want for my relative, but what do they want for themselves, right? And that's what CBI is all about, giving a voice to the voiceless, giving a voice to this disabled person and older persons to be able to say, this is what I want, this is what I have to contribute. And we have found in our short stint at running this program that they have much to offer. So thank you very much, and we wish everyone a very good night, and feel free to be a part and the conversation of CBR.
I just want to thank you for having me here. Let me just say up front, I'm Barbadian. I'm not familiar with the culture of Nevis and St. Kitts as much as I would like, but what I would say, being a part of CBR Nevis within the last couple of weeks has been very instrumental in how I approach the elderly care and how I approach disabilities on the whole. And I think this organization has the opportunity to really extend to the people of Nevis and St. Kitts by extension the understanding and true way of how you can help and how you can contribute in support of what Rainford said just now. We have to understand that mental distortion is a serious thing, and sometimes having that person locked up in the house or believing they're safer in the house is doing more damage to that individual than it could be than just having them outside being experiencing, you know, some other culture where they can contribute. So, but thank you very much for having me here.
And I want to put in a correction because I was just told it's social services department and not the community development. So there's a little different. You see, at the top of the show, I said that, you know, the show has a lot of people who, you know, they would always call me after the show and so on. I have people who would message me during the show and they correct me on things. So I want to thank that person for sending me that WhatsApp just now to correct me. I said I was going to call their name on the radio, but I give them a little break. But thank you. You know who you are. Thank you very much. So, Dr. Liburd.
Yes, sir. We are thankful to you, Troy, to the Honorable Mark Brantley, who opened the door for us to be here tonight, and to the listening audience that Nevis community-based rehabilitation is here, and we're here to stay because the need is there. It won't go away, and we have to do something as a people to make it happen. That people need to be fully fulfilled in their lives and livelihoods at all stages of life. And the Sustainable Development Goals speak to that, leaving no one behind, ending poverty by 2030, and so that everyone can feel functional and productive at all stages of life. So with that, let's continue the conversation. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. And,
this is your
you know,
personal copy.
definitely, it was a pleasure having you here. And you know that is true by the fact that, virtue of the fact that we were supposed to be here until 8:30, and it's now almost 9:30, and you guys are just leaving. So this was definitely wonderful. And Mr. Foote, I'm going to carry your message, and have a wonderful time in Nevis. Maybe I'll see you sometime, maybe on the road, because Nevis is small.
Well, I'm here till the 16th, so
You're here until the 16th,
and
definitely.
and I'm
So-
prepared to engage a dialogue to further the CB.
Yes,
their
definitely
cause.
we will have that conversation. So it was wonderful having you gentlemen here, Dr. Liburd. You know,
Thanks again, Troy.
thanks a
Appreciate
lot for all that you do for the good people of Nevis, and of course my cousin Renford and Monica, who was here earlier. I want to thank all of you for coming here and speaking about this worthy cause, Nevis CBR. I look forward to seeing the growth of Nevis CBR, and you know what it can become. I think it can blossom to becoming something really wonderful, and
And you
I'm
look forward
looking
to supporting and giving your
Oh,
contribution.
definitely, definitely. You've already inducted me as an honorary member,
Yes.
and so I don't take that lightly. So certainly, I look forward to maybe sometime coming to the center and interacting with some of the elders and some of the disabled people, and maybe even bringing a group of students or young people to actually interact with them. So, I look forward to that. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to On the Mark with your host, Troy Liburd. The lines are open. We just had some good folks here. They're about to leave the studio. We're about to get into the meat. Well, we only have a few more minutes, so I'm going to talk about what I can talk about. And, if there's anything that you want to call in and talk about, then the lines are open. The numbers to call are 869-469-1616 or 469-1700. Of course, we are in the month of June, and by virtue of the fact that my particular ministry is a ministry of education, June for us is Child Month. And this year in 2025, we are celebrating the 40th anniversary of Child Month here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. So that is a milestone. We're celebrating 40 years of having Child Month here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And this year, we want to have a wonderful celebration. We have a caller on the line. Caller, you are on the mark. Good night.
Yes, good night, Troy.
Yes, good night.
How are you, man?
I'm good. I know this voice. Good. How are you?
For sure, I'm okay now, but I have a little concern, right?
Yes.
I'm sorry, it's very, very, very simple, but it means a lot to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sorry that the premier itself is not there because he's the premier of the country.
Mm-hmm.
He's the leader of the country. Before you have the banning of the t-shirt plastic bag, right?
Uh-huh.
You hear me?
Yes, I'm listening.
Okay, before you had the banning of the t-shirt plastic bag,
Mm-hmm.
you used to get plastic bag. Well, not free, but some people call it free because everything comes with a cost. We all know you have to pay for it and the different items you buy. Okay, no problem that you're not giving us the plastic bag anymore. But my problem is now, Troy,
Mm-hmm.
that they're accustomed to give us the brown paper bag, especially when they buy bottle drink, and put those bottle drink in the brown paper bag, and then put it in a plastic bag and give us. Well, they're not give us the plastic bag anymore, but they start give us the brown paper bag. And one of the supermarkets especially now saying you have to pay 25 cents for a brown paper bag. One seems like you stop give, and another say you have to pay 25 cents for the brown paper bag. So my thing is, I mean, the supermarket must catch us all around. They don't catch us on the plastic bag. Now they must catch us again on the brown paper bag. You have to pay for the brown paper bag. I think it's unfair.
I think it's important that yourself and other persons in the community, when you have issues, that they bring the issue. So I'm very thankful that you call on this. You might say that it's a small thing, but it's not necessarily a small thing. Of course, the government has moved to ban single-use plastics, which are the plastic bags that you will normally get the shopping and so on. And some persons used to take them at home and you use them as your garbage bag and so on. And rightfully so. In some instances, you would go to the supermarket or to the shop, and depending on what you buy, you would get a paper bag. I was not aware that they are now charging 25 cents for
25 cents.
the paper bag.
Really, really unfair.
So if in the past it was the case that you would get the plastic bags for free or the paper bags for free, then that is something that we would certainly have to look into. So I'm very happy that you have brought this to the fore now, and it's something that we need to look into. I've made a note of it, and I'm definitely going to start working the different channels to see what can be done about it, to see exactly where this is happening and so on. So I think it's an issue. And it's certainly something that we can look at, because if they used to give the paper bag for free before, then why start charging for the paper bag simply because there's a ban on the plastics and now the paper is going to be more prevalent. I noticed that most of the supermarkets, they have been selling these plastic bags that you can walk around with, and some agencies have actually been giving out the shopping bags. I myself had some shopping bags given to me by the St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla National Bank that I would have given to, they would have been shared with the other ministers and different people in Nevis, and I've been giving them out, so I've given out quite a bit of them.
I understand that. Sorry to cut you. I understand that, but I'm speaking about what, as you rightly mentioned, why they charging us 25 cents for the brown bag which we used to get.
Yes, and I'm telling you that I've made a note of it, and I'm going to be looking into it. This is something that I'm going to make an issue of, because I understand where you're coming from, that before you would have gone to the supermarket, and depending on what you bought, they would have put it in the brown paper bag for you and given it to you, and you're saying now they're charging for it. So,
right.
So I'll definitely look into that.
Well, I just hope that, because I'm not going to give on that easily.
Well, I don't think you should. I mean, if it's an issue, then you should grab onto the issue, and you can see who else out there has the same issue, and who else would want to grab onto the issue.
Okay.
Because as consumers, the consumers has rights to it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Thank you very much for that.
Right. Okay.
Do we have another caller? Okay, callers, the lines are open. The numbers to call 869-469-1616 or 1700. I want to thank that caller for the call. I think it is an important issue to bring to the fore. Certainly the banning of the single-use plastics, it's an adjustment, and every time you have to adjust, things, people take time to adjust to things. I can certainly understand the reason for the banning of the single-use plastics, because we had all these plastics going into the landfill and so on, and it was becoming an environmental problem. So certainly the government took the steps that those persons in the Department of Environment and so on took the steps that they thought were the best possible steps at the time, and we are going to see how that works out. Of course, we know that we only have these small islands, St. Kitts and Nevis, and the more solid waste we bring in, the more garbage we bring in, it's the less space that we are going to have to use. So we have to ensure that we are minimizing the amount of polluting that we're doing, and I think that those are the things that the good folks at the Department of Environment and so on have in mind. They are looking to minimize our footprint in terms of solid waste and so on, but certainly an issue that is worth looking into. Prior to that, I was talking about the month of June, and that the month of June is Child Month, and here in the Federation we're celebrating the 40th anniversary of Child Month, and so we have a jam-packed calendar full of activities, and our theme for this year's Child Month is From Tiny Steps to Giant Strides, celebrating 40 years with pride. And so we would have kicked off the month here in Nevis with a bang. We started this on past Monday with our church service, and our church service was held at the Gingerland Seventh-day Adventist Church. It took place on Monday morning at 10 a.m. We had all of the preschoolers who were out, and their teachers and so on, and it was a wonderful church service. I'm always so happy. I had some videos that I took and I put them up on social media, of the children singing and shouting. But I think the highlight of the morning was the puppet show. Puppet show was done by Craig David and Keno David, and those children, you normally would see these puppets and so on TV and so on, but to see it actually live, and these guys do a remarkable job. I would like to tape it and maybe put it on Facebook one of these days, their puppet show. They had the children, and the children just couldn't get enough of the puppet show, and then in the end they were singing along with the puppets. So that was the church service that we had on Monday. Wonderful service. This coming Friday, every Friday, this coming Friday and every Friday, we are calling it T-shirt Friday. And what we want to encourage everybody to do is to wear one of your T-shirts that you have from a past Child Month. I would hope that every year when we come out for the march and we have the T-shirts, that we don't throw them away. So we want you to wear any Child Month T-shirt come this Friday and every Friday as part of the Child Month. So next week Friday, which is the 13th of June, on that day we are going to be having the grand parade. The Child Month parade through the streets of Charlestown is normally the highlight of Child Month, and so we're going to have the grand parade through the streets of Charlestown, and this will culminate with a fun day at the E.T. Willett Park following the parade. The parade normally comes up and we end off at the E.T. Willett Park, and we will have a grand fun day there with fun games and bouncing castles and all of the other things that our early childhood learners love. Children at that age, they like to play, and we should give them the opportunity to play. So we're going to have that next Friday, the 13th of June, and then on Wednesday, the 18th of June, we are going to have a Star Search competition, and this is where our preschoolers, they're going to be competing in a poetry and song contest. So I'm really looking forward to this, and that's on the 18th of June. So it's going to be poetry, song and dance. So really looking forward to that. And then on Friday the 20th of June, another T-shirt Friday. So you're going to put on your Child Month T-shirt, but we are also going to be having kids athletics, and we know that people in Nevis like sports. We love interprimary Nevis. Interprimary is our big thing. Well, we're going to be having, I don't want to call it interpre because I don't want to get the public, they will come out and start repping their schools like that. I don't want it to be one of those type of things, but it's going to be a fun athletics day. Remember, these are preschoolers. They're only going to be there to have fun, and this is going to be on Friday, June 20th. Then on June 27th, a contingent of us from here in Nevis, we're going to go over to St. Kitts, because that's going to be the day that they're having the Child Month parade over on St. Kitts. So that's June 27th. That's the Child Month parade over on St. Kitts. And then on the 30th of June, we are going to be honoring, we are going to have an award ceremony where we are going to be honoring some of those persons who have contributed, they have made a significant contribution to our young preschoolers and early childhood learners over the past 40 years. So we are going to be having that award ceremony on June 30th for those persons who have contributed significantly over the years. And I want to take the opportunity to invite the general public to really come out and support our young people. We like to say that the young are the future, and they are, and so we need to really come out and show them that support, because in everything that they're doing, they would feel so much better to see that the adults, the parents and the aunties and the uncles and the cousins, that you're out there to support them. So I want to really invite the general public to come out and support our young people. Okay, so that's Child Month. I want to speak about another activity that we had in education, just to highlight that activity, and that is the STEM week. So I think it was the week of the 19th to the 23rd of May, we had this STEM week. And why am I highlighting STEM week? Why am I coming on the radio to talk about STEM or STEM week? And STEM stands for basically science, technology, engineering, and math. So it's a new thrust in a way that we want to teach our children. So why am I talking about it? Well, basically, what it is, science, is about learning, how things work, right? So basically learning about how things work, that is the cornerstone of science. It's about asking questions. It's about seeing a problem and testing out a way how to solve that problem. A lot of people, when they hear about the word science, they think it's some highfalutin thing, but science could be a very basic thing. It's about solving problems, seeing something and finding a way to solve that problem. That is what science is at its core. Coming up with a asking yourself a question, coming up with a solution or a hypothesis in your mind and testing it out. And if what you're doing is not working, then you make some sort of course correction and you try something else until it works. That's the basics of science. And I mean, we've come to a point in the world where modern technology and so on are a big thing. Science has come a very long way. And so we want to teach our children to think, to think in a way that would allow them to solve problems and so on. We want to develop that type of mindset and that type of skill set in our young people. And we feel like we can achieve this through STEM education. And so, therefore, the Department of Education, we put forward this STEM week because we wanted to really engage our young people. The theme for our STEM week was collaborate, evaluate, create, solve. And during the week, and I want to thank the First Federal Credit Union. They came on in a big way this year and they sponsored our STEM challenge, and that was a big thing. We had the STEM challenge down at the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park at Pinnies, and wonderful event. It's an event that gives our young people the opportunity to showcase their abilities to really think critically. We also had a wonderful science forum. This was hosted at the NEPAC. We had some students being a part of that forum. We had the Permanent Secretary Claxton. We had Mr. John Williams, the education officer, who's really the one spearheading our STEM initiative at the department. We also had teachers who were part of the forum and some students. We had somebody from the Medical University of the Americas, and so it was I think we also had the Director of Agriculture. He was there also. So we had a broad scope of persons who were at that science forum that was a part of our STEM week. And then another initiative that we had was Math Infusion Day. And basically this is a day where everything that we taught in school, we did it in a way to include math in it. So if we were teaching English, we did it in a way to include some math. If we were doing science, we did it in a way to include some math. If we were doing social studies, we did it in a way to include some math. And the reason for this is that we have realized that over the years that the math scores have been going down. So we are doing an intervention to try to ensure that we can get, our students to look at math in a different way, so that we can really try to. Math is something that some people look at it and they think it is abstract, but really it is not abstract. Anybody who has to count money, anybody who has to, if you're doing construction, you're building your home, you have to do math to keep track of what's going on. And so it is something that we need in our daily lives. And so we are trying to, inculcate that into our young people, to ensure that they're thinking that math is not something that is going to overwhelm them. So one of the things that we did over the STEM week was that we distributed some devices to our children here on the island of Nevis. And this is something that, in saying this, I have to smile about it. We gave out just about 1,200 devices, and when I say devices, I mean tablets and what you call them again? They are like computers, but they have on the Android software. Chromebooks, yes, Chromebooks. You see, sometimes you get a little brain freeze. So we gave out 1,200 tablets and Chromebooks, and these were given directly to some of our students here on Nevis. And I just after giving out the tablets, I had students meet me, some students from the EPPS, the Elizabeth Pemberton Primary School. I was on the street because I live in the area, and I was going for a little walk, and I happened upon these students, and they walked up to me and they said, "Mr. Troy Liburd, I want to thank you, and I want to thank the Department of Education for the tablets." And they were all walking around with their tablets and so on, and they came up to me, and I've been to several schools since then, and the students have all come around and say, "Oh yes, we got new tablets." And so that is part of the initiative. So we got some of these tablets. They came to us from the Republic of China and Taiwan, and some of the devices that we have, they came to us courtesy of the Winsong Foundation. And then there are another set of devices that we got, and those were a joint initiative between the Federal Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Education here on Nevis, because what we are trying to do is to up the technology in our schools. I believe that the Department of Education here on Nevis, that they have come up with quite a wonderful idea, and everything that they do, they want to name it. So I think they have called it the Tech Up program, and part of the program is not that we are just giving away all of these devices, but part of the program, some of the devices, they have been given to the schools, so those devices would remain in the schools to be used as part of the school's teaching program. Another part of what we are doing is that we are giving out devices to some of our teachers. I think the distribution has already started in the secondary school, so most, if not all, of the teachers at the secondary level would have gotten the devices already. And I think devices are going to be given out to some of the teachers at the primary level. I want to believe that it's from the grade 4 to the grade 6 that they're actually going to be given a laptop computer. So I think those in the high schools, they would have gotten that laptop computer already, and those in the primary schools, the laptop computers should be on their way. We also have some devices that are being prepared at the moment, and those devices are going to be housed at our preschools, because the use of technology has to start from the very early age. And of course, this is Child Month, and Child Month is really geared towards our early childhood learners, and so we don't want them to be left out. So we are going to be placing some computers, well, not computers, but tablets, and those are going to be at the preschools to be used by the teachers in the preschools to deliver to help to enhance the learning that they're delivering. So we have a number of devices that are being prepped. They are being prepped with the relevant apps and so on to be used in our preschools. So quite a lot is happening here on the island of Nevis. And while I talk about that, I recall that a few weeks ago, there was a whole song and dance. Oh, we have a caller. Let me go to the lines. Caller, you're on the mark. Good night.
Joy, good night.
Good night. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. Me call you for ask 2 questions.
Sure.
Yeah. Pertaining to what you talk about right now, you use the word start. Right. But when I take power, the same program then me go on before and I may stop them.
Which program, sir?
Giving out laptop and whatnot.
There was a 1-to-1 laptop program.
And I may stop them, right?
No, we didn't stop anything. The computers that they had, they gave out.
Okay. So me understand them wrong then.
Well, I don't know what understanding you had. When they had the program, they gave out the computers that they had. They never left any computers that somebody kept or anything like that to say that anybody stopped a program.
You're technical,
I'm not technical at all. I'm just saying what you say.
Let me move on, because people listen. What? You're part of the cabinet, right?
Yes, I am.
Right. Premier Brantley said that the paper that he get from Jew pertaining to the fair share, he say shame to the cabinet. So you don't look to the paper there, right?
Which paper exactly are we speaking about?
From the World Bank.
From the World Bank?
Yeah. For the fair share. So how close now you think that I can deliver the fair share to the citizens of Navy?
That we can deliver the fair share?
Yeah.
Well, you know that if we had the money holding, that we would have delivered the fair share a very long time ago. I'm sure you're aware of that. The problem with the fair share has always been that the monies from the citizenship by investment have flowed into Bastille, and Bastille has chosen how much to share with Nevis. So Nevis has never been in a position where we can say or we can dictate that well, we share in X amount with Nevis. Sure, we have called for it, we have spoken about it. This is something that I have been speaking about for many years. This is something that I did a lot of research on, and I've spoken about, way back when, way back before Unity came in, and you would know when we campaigned for Unity that the whole premise of Unity was that we would be fair to all citizens across the Federation. And in particular, when we spoke about the CBI, it was Timothy Harris himself who said that the CBI would be distributed on a pro rata basis. And if you understand what a pro rata basis is, the pro rata basis means based on population. I mean, there are numerous tapes. I'm sure you can go back and find where Dr. Harris would have spoken about a pro rata basis. That, unfortunately, never materialized for, whatever reason, and up to today, it has not materialized. I'm sure if you go and you do a study.
Yeah, but maybe based on the paper now that from the World Bank, because I remember you say that the World Bank people more professional and them now would have given one thing. So what I say now, I got the paper. So looking through the paper, it seems like I can deliver that before Culturama or after Culturama.
Carl, I like you. Let me give you my answer to that. In terms of the World Bank report that the Prime Minister has, That is something that I think would be discussed, between the Prime Minister and the Premier, or between, if we are to have maybe some sort of joint cabinet meeting between the federal cabinet and the cabinet of the NIA. That is something that I'm sure could be discussed then. But let me give you my straight up answer when it comes to the CBI and the fair share, right? The CBI and the fair share is about counting money and about counting, percentage and so on. And I, for one, don't need the World Bank to come and tell me what is fair and what is not fair. Okay, that has been my position since way back when in 2013. It has been my position coming all the way through, and it is my position tonight as I speak to you. Okay, that I believe, and this is my own personal belief that doesn't have anything to do with anybody else. I believe that if there are some sales of the patronage of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, which is the country, both islands, okay, and they come into the country, that they should be shared in a way that is fair, so that all persons in the country, regardless to whether you live in Bastille, or you live in Charlestown, or you live in St. Paul's, St. Kitts, or you live in Gingerland and Nevis, wherever you're from, that you should be able to benefit in some equitable way to people from any other place in the country. That is my belief, and I don't think I need any World Bank to tell me anything about that. Of course,
I will leave it right there.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, Joy.
You have a wonderful time, caller.
Okay, no problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to On the Mark, straight talk across the Narrows with Troy Liburd. I just finished talking about the STEM week, and I spoke about the distribution of the devices and computers, and I want the general public to know that what we are doing now is different from what was done in the past. We're not just giving the devices to the students and then saying that's it, go and do what you want. What we are doing is actually trying to improve the way that our young people, we have a program in place where we're trying to improve the way that the young people deploy these devices. We actually are working on a curriculum to deal with technology and so on. So it's not just about giving the young children the tablets and telling them go and do what you want. That is not the case at all. Ladies and gentlemen, we have just about 10 minutes to go before the end of this show, and it would be remiss of me if I did not speak. So I want to pivot away from what I was talking about to go and speak about the Caribbean Tourism Organization. They're having their Caribbean Week in New York City right now. That is the reason why the Honorable Premier is, off island, because he is at that Caribbean Week event that's happening there in New York City. And as part of the Caribbean Week event, the Nevis Tourism Association, or the NTA, they have introduced their new branding campaign. And I'm sure most of you, if you have social media, you would have seen this how you call it, a black and white image going around that says Nevis. So that is the new branding for the the NTA and for our thrust in tourism. And basically it's being described as a bold new branding campaign. It is in a black and white palette. The design is to appeal to the luxury travel market. So here on Nevis, we are trying to appeal to the luxury travel market. And of course, we retain the tagline, Nevis Naturally. So at that event, we had, some persons who were there to talk about their experiences in Nevis. We had the actor Dool Hill, and for those who watch the show The West Wing, Dool Hill is an actor who performs on The West Wing, and he would have recently vacationed here on the island of Nevis, and so he was at that CTA event to, you know, say some good things about the island of Nevis, talk about his experience here on the island of Nevis. We also had the actress Naturi Norton, and Naturi Norton, for those who are familiar with the Power franchise, she is the actress who played the role of Tasha, who was the wife of Ghost on Power. So she was also at that event and spoke wonderfully about what's happening in terms of Nevis. And so, you know, I just want to put in my 2 cents about what's happening in terms of this whole new branding campaign by the NTA. Of course, part of this branding campaign is a brand new website, and you can go on the website. It's nevisisland.com, nevisisland.com, and you can see all of the nice pictures. The website is really easy to use, and so it's all a part of this new branding campaign for the NTA. I've seen quite a bit of talk already coming out on social media, because I guess it's in black and white. You know, we're accustomed to vivid colors and bright colors and so on, and so these pictures were taken and they were put into what you call grayscale. So they were put into grayscale, and based on what the marketing advisors were advising, this is something that appeals to that type of high-end customer that we are looking to attract here on the island of Nevis. So, I mean, I've heard some of what the people have had to say, but anytime you do something new, anytime you try to do something that is bold, people gonna talk. And so what we can do now is to actually, wait around and let's see how it works out, because I for one believe that it is a bold new step, and I for one am certainly enthused to see what will happen. So that's the Nevis Tourism Authority, NTA, and they have now introduced their bold new branding campaign. And I would want to encourage everybody to go to the website nevisisland.com, or to go to the NTA's Facebook page and to see what's happening on there. Ladies and gentlemen, we have just about 5 minutes more, and I've been given some good information here, and I want to make sure that I carry out this information. And yes, so I've been given some information about Culturama, okay, and we had the launch of Culturama just recently, and we now have the calendar of activities for Culturama. So this coming Friday, June 6th, we are going to be having a soca teaser, okay? So that's this coming Friday, June 6th. Then again on Saturday, I'm going a bit too fast. Then again on Friday, the 13th, we're going to be having another soca teaser. That venue has not yet been selected, so we will listen out to hear what the venue is. On Friday the 20th of June, and this is a big date, we are going to have the Culturama 51 launch and reveal of the senior pageant contestants and participants. So that is a big date on Friday the 20th of June. So everybody look out for Friday the 20th of June. That's when we are going to have the big launch of Culturama, and that's when our pageant contestants and participants will be revealed. Then on the 5th of July, we're going to have a night market and another soca teaser, and this is going to be at the Artisan Village, okay, So that's right next to the craft house at the Artisan Village on July 5th. We're going to have a soca teaser and a night market. Then on Friday, July 11th, we are going to have the soca eliminations. The venue is yet to be determined, so we will listen out for the venue. That's Friday, the 11th of July. Then on Saturday, the 12th of July, we're going to have the Culturama 51 bar crawl. And of course, this is powered by Carib. And this is going to be island-wide. On the 12th of July, Saturday the 12th of July, we're going to have the bar crawl. Then on Saturday the 19th of July, we have the official opening of the Culturama Village, and we will have the Soca Monarch semi-finals at that time. And the venue for this will be the Cultural Village. Then on Sunday, the 20th of July, we are going to have the TDC Kaiso semi-finals, and this is going to be at the David Freeman Center for Excellence up there in Gingerland. That's on Sunday, July 20th, the Kaiso semi-finals. Then on Wednesday, the 23rd of July, we are going to have the first Federal Cooperative Junior Kaiso finals. And so those are the pre-activities for Culturama. I'm sure if you stick and you stay tuned and you go on the Facebook page and so on for Culturama, you will have the listing of all of the activities. But the activities that are just upcoming, look out for those activities. Culturama is getting into full swing. Last year we celebrated Culturama 50, and it was a marvelous homecoming. And this year we are looking forward to Culturama 51. Things are already starting to take shape. Things are already starting to look good. So I want to, encourage people, don't spend off all that money to go to the music festival. Go and support the music festival. Of course, I want to encourage everybody to do that, but don't spend off all your money there. Save some for Culturama. I know that for the young people, they have the artists that everybody is talking about, Vibes Cartel, the proclaimed world boss. Now you hear all the talk in the media about who is the king of dancehall and all of that. So we're going to have Vibes Cartel along with many other artists for the St. Kitts Music Festival. But save a little bit for Culturama, maybe buy one suit and wear something that you would have worn before, and save something for Culturama, because I believe C51 will be big. Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming up on the 10 o'clock hour. This show went very fast tonight. Again, I want to say a big thank you to my guests who were here earlier. Of course, they came with a very worthy cause, the Nevis CBR, community-based rehabilitation. They came with a very worthy cause, and of course, everybody look out for the new tourism branding, nevisisland.com. I think it's a wonderful initiative. Change is good, sometimes we don't know we need change until we get it. So that is something that is new. The music already striking up, and so that signals that it is the end of our show for this week. Of course, if you didn't catch the show this evening, you can certainly catch the show tomorrow. The show will be aired at 1 in the afternoon. So do have a wonderful evening. It was a pleasure being here with you tonight. Good night.
Views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers. With all the power